Hi, we're the character development side of the last project you saw. Right. I am Hannah. I'm an IMGD student, believe it or not, and I have a concentration in visual arts.
I'm Carrie. I'm also an IMGD student with no concentration.
Right. So if you've taken an animation class here, a 3D animation class here at WPI, you've probably seen this site. There should be, yeah. Oh no. It's not a threat, I swear.
Yeah.
Oh, she's fighting. It wouldn't show it.
She's funny.
Okay, it's not that big a deal. It's just a video of you scrolling. All right. So if you worked with this site, then if you've taken a 3D animation class here, you've probably worked with this site. It's called Animation Buffet, and it is a host site for rigs of various levels and various ethnic backgrounds and all of that. But if you scroll through it, you will find a lack of ethnic backgrounds. And in the video, I'm scrolling through, and there is one character of color in the first page of the humans subcategory. Sites like these allow animation students and hobbyists alike to freely use or pay to use rigs, but sometimes they are game ready, sometimes they're not. It really is kind of up in the air.
So these are two of the most well-known non-white rigs that are available on Animation Buffet. They're Dana and David, created by Gabriel Salas, and he specifically made these rigs to add diversity to Animation Buffet. And he made them to sort of inspire and enable animators to create more diverse content. And these rigs are an example of what's simple but very appealing, which is something that's important to focus on when modeling characters.
Right. So this is some of the work of last year's Rigs of Color member, Davina Dawson, and she is kind of where we took the project. We picked it up from her. We wanted to streamline creating a process that would create visually appealing and interesting characters of differing diversity that could be used with the auto rigger and released onto sites like Animation Buffet for students and hobbyists to use.
So as we continued the project, this was our modeling process. We first started out with concepts, so artists gave us concept art, or we looked online for concept art, or we even drew it ourselves. And we first started out with the actual modeling with blocking out the body. So we created a foundation for the body, and we slowly build on it and detail it more. And then afterwards, we can outfit it with clothes and model the hair, more of the decorative stuff, accessories and stuff like that. And then after the modeling is done, we move on to texturing and painting the models. And then before we can move on to having them rigged, we have to retopologize them, which makes it easier for the riggers to handle them.
Right. So research was done to both collect and generate concept art that could be used for our project. We wanted to create something that we wanted to create like orthographic views so that we could translate it directly into 3D quickly and make the blocking out process really our focus.
So the blockout phase was probably the longest part of the process for us. It involves creating a basic body shape using low poly shapes moved around and put together. And then as we receive feedback and critique, we can raise the poly count and add more detail until we have a complete body shown on the right.
Yeah, so the blockouts made for our characters all follow a similar form. Sections of the body were broken down and then in the 2D art drawn over, and we brought that into the 3D using muscle groups and sectioning. And a real large focus of it was using focusing on the blockout of the face. The face not only provides personality for the character, but also largely portrays the ethnical origin of the character. So we wanted to make sure that our facial blockouts were strong and heavily worked on so that we could get as close to the concept art as possible.
A large part of the critiquing process was paintovers, where a picture is taken or screenshot is taken of the model and then drawn over by the person critiquing, and little notes are added, and it's a way to help us not only fix our models but also plan for what curves we want to have and what kind of personality we want to put into the models. So paintovers, a lot of the critique was done with just paintovers. And what's cool about these is that on ZBrush you can put the paintover behind ZBrush and change the opacity of the ZBrush program so that you can move the model around to actually fit the lines that the person has drawn. And this was done for all parts of the body, including the face, which is a really important part of the blockout.
Yeah, so after working on all of the redraws and everything, we were able to finalize the forms we created by combining the blockouts and then rendering the areas where they merged. We wanted to really create a stylization effect by adding very intense creases, large round curves, and really get a decorative piece of art. When it comes to bringing the inner personality of the character out to the external, clothing is really important for creativity and design. So using a combination of modeling and extracting shapes from the finished body type, we were able to create clothing that felt like it was actually on the character, such as tight-fitting clothing, the jumper that lays, you can see all of the folds coming through at motion points, and we've got layered outfits and stuff like that.
So paintovers were also done for the clothing. It was important to consider what parts of the body are showing out of the clothing, how the clothing lays on the character and how it falls, and where certain folds will be, how the fabric wraps around the body. These are all important parts that we had to modify and change as we were critiqued. Something that was really difficult for us was modeling shoes. It took a lot of referencing and research because it may not seem like it, but shoes are probably the most difficult things to model for us, at least when it comes to clothing. So for the hair, we both had different styles that we were going for when modeling hair. Hannah liked to use a more stylized look with the fluffy curls in the first picture, whereas I sort of used more puffy and realistic looking shapes. Something we did a lot in the process for making hair is we would make one chunk of hair and then add texture to it with grooming and noise filtering. So when we put all the different chunks together and we can duplicate them and stuff like that, we can create a full hairstyle using all these little chunks.
Right, so time to add color. The fun part of modeling is taking a step back after you start coloring it and really seeing that it's brought so much life to your character. Our texturing was done using ZBrush's poly paint feature to add visual detail, but not to add too much of the 3D texture that you'd get from something like Substance Painter, which we wanted to keep simple for the stylization choices. So every high poly character needs a low poly counterpart, and retopologizing can be a lot. So we used Russian 3D Scanner to bring a low poly clean model and basically shrink wrap it onto our characters, creating a low poly version of our high poly characters without all of the tedious moving edges, making sure you have the right curves. For UV mapping, we tried to keep it speedy because our focus was mostly on the models. So we used the ZBrush UV master and used the unwrapping methods within ZBrush just to keep it going.
So the last step in the whole process is the rigging, which is not handled by us, but is handled by the tech team for this project. And so yeah, it's what will make the models be able to be moved around and posed and brought to life. So our project, we delivered 12 models, 12 different characters. These are just 4 of our favorite ones, but they've all been modeled and painted, and we're very excited to show them to the world. So in this project, we learned a lot about the importance of representation. Not only did we want to represent different ethnic backgrounds, but we also wanted to represent different body types. Throughout the project, our artistic skills improved a lot, especially our 3D skills, but also our 2D skills. 3D, we both started out not really having a concrete method for creating bodies and creating models, but now we can do it quickly because we've developed a sort of a method and a sort of strategy for making characters. And our 2D art has improved with our anatomy. After modeling so many bodies, we've gotten pretty okay at figuring out how to draw people. And it also helped with viewing our 2D image as 3D, not sort of seeing it as flat all the time. And it was great to work together as a team because we both like to design characters, so it was really nice to be able to collaborate on something we both like doing. And these are our acknowledgements. So thank you to the artists and the students who gave us feedback, the people who provided artwork to us, and Sky Pritchard helped us with the project as well by creating a model. And thank you to Farley for being our advisor.